Pictures can tell us many things. They're a way for people to capture a moment to look back on it later. But what happens when you look back on an old picture to discover that there's something or someone in it that you did not expect? The following photos I'm about to show you were all taken by amateur photographers who, upon developing them, discovered what can only be described as an apparition, a spectral being that is not of this world. But of course, the subject of ghosts is always a topic for debate. Are these hoaxes or are they unintentional glimpses into another world? It's for you to decide. So here are 10 creepy ghost pictures that were never explained. Number 1 is Our Lady of Zitown. There are thousands of stories documented from the past of people who have claimed to see a religious figure. While most of them were a single sighting, the appearance of Our Lady of Zitown was very different. This apparition was first seen on April 2nd, 1968 by a bus mechanic named Farouk Muhammad Atwa, who, upon spotting it, believed it to be a woman standing on the top of a church in Zitown district of Cairo, Egypt. Believing that she was suicidal, he, along with 2 other witnesses, called the authorities, who explained that it was simply a reflection of light. But it was quickly discovered that this was more than a simple reflection, as for over 2 years afterwards, thousands of people witnessed the same apparition, which resembled the Virgin Mary. Hundreds of photos were taken of these events, all of them depicting the same figure. Having been unable to produce an alternative explanation for the luminous sightings, the Egyptian government has come forward accepting the apparitions as real. Number 2 is the deathbed ghost. In 1999, the owners of the Worley Bed and Breakfast in Georgia hired a photographer to take some pictures for promotional materials. Upon finding some useful ones, the photos were stored away for 4 years. In 2003, the owners decided to pull out the photos to find some for their website, only to discover something very odd in one of the images. Initially assumed to be a photographic flaw or artifact, the photo was further examined by professionals and it was discovered to have what appears to be a ghost of a teenage boy lying in a bed in the top right corner. The inn's owners believe that the apparition is that of Claude Worley, a young man who in 1889 was hit by a train and was brought into the house to be made comfortable until he died slowly. Number 3 is the girl on fire. On November 19th, 1995, a great fire consumed the Wem Town Hall in Shropshire, England, reducing the entire building to ashes. This monumental firefight brought both photographers and press to capture the battle. However, one picture was taken that has bewildered people to this day. This picture was taken by local resident and amateur photographer Tony O'Reilly, which seems to show a ghostly girl standing near a railing as the blaze destroys everything around her. Mr. O'Reilly, who died in 2005, adamantly claimed right up until the date of his death that he did not doctor the image that made headlines around the world. Adding credibility to his claim is that none who were there ever saw this girl, and the photo was later verified by experts to be authentic. Through research, it was later believed that the specter is that of 14-year-old Jane Churm, a girl who died in a fire that she caused accidentally with a candle over 300 years prior in 1677. Number 4 is Grandpa's Ghost. On August 17th, 1998, Denise Russell and her family took their 94-year-old grandmother out for a picnic to cheer her up after she had been in a nursing home for a week. During the family outing, Denise's sister took a photo of her grandmother, which captured something unexpected. Behind her grandmother stood her grandfather, who had died 14 years prior in 1984. Eerily, nobody noticed this anomaly until Christmas of 2000, after their grandmother had already been dead for over 8 months. Interestingly, their grandmother had always said that she felt the presence of her late husband, as if he had always been watching over her. Perhaps this picture captured one of those very moments. Number 5 is the staircase ghost. Queen's House building at the National Museum in Greenwich, England, has been the site of many paranormal encounters in the over 400 years that it's been in existence. People have claimed to have heard footsteps, seen doors open seemingly by themselves, and ghosts who have roamed the hall calls. Of course, all of these were simply claims with no evidence, until one picture was taken. This photo, taken in 1966 by Reverend Ralph Hardy, a retired clergyman from White Rock, British Columbia, shows a glowing white figure climbing the staircase, the stairs being the only thing that he meant to photograph. It was only after this photo was developed that the woman appeared, much to the Reverend and his clergy's shock. When the Reverend came forward with this photo, many people cried hoax. That was, until the photograph was authenticated by multiple experts who have declared it to be authentic. Number 6 is Lord Combermere's ghost. This photograph of the Combermere Abbey Library was taken in 1891 by photographer Sybil Corbett. It's located in Cheshire, England, and was founded by Benedictine monks in 1133. Corbett was commissioned to take some photos with her camera and set it up with the shutter open for 1 hour in the Combermere Abbey Library, while the house staff were attending her brother, Lord Combermere's funeral nearly 4 miles away. However, what's bizarre is that if you look closely, you can see a faint resemblance of a man sitting in a chair that bears a striking resemblance to Lord Combermere himself, who was killed days before when he was run over by a horse-drawn carriage. Now, some claim that during this photo exposure, some servants might have come into the room to sit on the chair, creating the image that we see here. However, this was deemed impossible as every member of the house was accounted for while attending Lord Combermere's funeral. The photo was authenticated by experts and it was determined to not be a double exposure. Number 7 is the Cooper family falling body. Sometime in the 1950s, the Cooper family bought an old house in Texas and moved in quickly. Days after unpacking, they decided to take a picture around the dining room table, smiling and celebrating their new home. However, when the photo was subsequently developed, they discovered an extra guest in the image. On the left of the image is what appears to be a hanging body of a deceased person, which was not originally there according to the father who took the photo. This is an extremely controversial photo that has made its rounds around the internet over the past 5 years. Many have claimed that this is the work of double exposure or Photoshop, but some who have analyzed the photo believe it to be genuine. Number 8 is the Amityville Ghost Boy. On November 13th, 1974, 23-year-old Ronald Defoe murdered his entire family in their home in Amityville, New York. Just over a year later, in December of 1975, the Lutz family moved into that very same home and immediately began noticing paranormal activity, enough so that they actually fled the house after only 28 days. In response, on March 6, 1976, famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, while investigating the haunting, took several photos with a time-lapse infrared camera. However, what they discovered upon developing the photos was nothing that anyone was prepared for. Caught in this photo is a small boy staring back at the camera, a small boy that looked eerily familiar to many who saw it. It was none other than Matthew Defoe, the same young boy that was brutally murdered by his father less than 2 years prior. The house was verified to be vacant and there is still no explanation as to why the young boy appeared in the photo. Number 9 is the White Lady of Worstead Church. In 1975, Peter Berthelot and his wife Diane were visiting the Worstead Church in North Norfolk, United Kingdom with their 12-year-old son. As most families do on their vacations, they took a photo of their destination, in this case the inside of a church. However, what they did not expect was to develop a photo that would come to be known forever as the White Lady of Worstead Church. In this famous photo, we see Diane sitting at a pew with an apparition behind her. The specter appears to be wearing old clothes, including a bonnet. Understandably terrified, the family submitted the photo to the church vicar, Reverend Pettit, who had an interesting revelation. The day the photo was taken, Diane was sick, which is why she was sitting. The Reverend quickly identified the apparition as the White Lady, a healer who appears to those who are sick. The legend he spoke of had gone back over 100 years, but this was the first time that someone had actually captured her in an image. And number 10 is someone in the back seat. Back in 1959, while at a cemetery to visit her mother's grave, Mabel Shinnery snapped some pictures of the site, including this shot of her husband as he sat in the passenger seat of the couple's car. However, unbelievably, the camera captured something else unexpected: Mabel's dead mother sitting in the back back seat. An expert had analyzed the photo and determined that it was genuine and authentic, leaving Mabel terrified and with more questions than answers. When news of this story got out, it was printed in several publications, including the original news report that broke the story on June 28, 1959 in Parade magazine. To this day, nobody has found an answer to what happened in this photograph, leaving many to conclude that this was in fact the ghost of the deceased Miss Shinnery. So those were 10 unexplained photos of ghosts, but I want to know from you in the comments, were any of these hoaxes or were they something more? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, drop a like on it. On the right, you'll find 2 of my most recent videos that you can press or click on your screen right now in case you missed them, and of course, you can press or click my channel icon below to subscribe to my channel if you have not done that yet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on Saturday. Sweet dreams.